Good morning, everybody. This is Jillian. I'm coming on a little bit later because I've been hanging out with my hubby. He's been kind of under the weather, so I've been taking care of him. But yeah, I've been just all over Facebook, and I'm looking at all the different people who are anti-vax. And some I actually do respond to on their walls. And so one post really hit me. It was saying that, the Amish, they don't die from all these diseases like heart disease and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what is natural causes? When you die from natural causes, what is it? It's not like you spontaneously combust and then you just die. No, it's a heart disease, lung disease, it's diseases, diabetes, whatever. The Amish do not escape cancer disease and chronic illness. No, they don't get vaccinated, but hey, look at the high infant mortality rate in the Amish. That's why you don't see a lot of autism or a lot of different childhood diseases. You see SIDS. What is SIDS? SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome. Where does SIDS come from? They don't know, but when you look at the actual symptoms of SIDS, and I'm going to read them. So let's look up what SIDS is, because this is what the industry is trying to cure, is SIDS. And this is where people get in trouble when their child dies. They think it's the parent killing the child. And so then there's those cases where they're trying to figure out, was it infanticide or was it actually SIDS? And then what causes SIDS? Okay, so sudden infant death, let's see, I would say sudden infant death syndrome symptoms. Or, yeah, they say it's like where the child suffocates itself. All right, so symptoms and causes. So here's the thing, babies are weak regardless. Babies are weak, okay? That's just a given. And so are the elderly. So what is SIDS? Is a sudden, unexplained death of a baby younger than 1 year old. A diagnosis of SIDS is made if the baby's death remains unexplained even after a death scene investigation, an autopsy, and a review of the clinical history. SIDS is part of a large category of unexpected, as opposed to unexplained, infant deaths called SUDI, sudden unexpected death infancy. Babies who die suddenly, but whose cause of death are later explained, infection, brain abnormality, cardiac dysfunction, also falls into the SUDI category. So we have the anti-vax community trying to blame the SIDS on the vaccines. Well, when the Amish who don't get vaccines have a high mortality rate, high infant mortality rate, well, what do you think it is? Oh, it could be the fact that babies are weak in general. Why do they have a high mortality rate? Because there's no vaccines. They don't use modern medicine. They are kind of like the off-gridders, okay, type of thing. The same thing when you look at the World Health Organization and the CDC, and you look at where all the high infant mortality rates are. Well, they are in the sub-Saharan desert, okay? So high mortality rate means a low rate of childhood diseases. So, which means you wouldn't have polio, you wouldn't have all these different things. But what the World Health Organization and biotech and the CDC are trying to cure death, at least at the start of life. They want to give everybody a chance to live, but they haven't figured out how to stop the death process. But they want to give you guys a chance to live. So what do? They find the cures. So because let me tell you, what's causing these kids to have a high mortality rate? When you look at back in the 1700s, mothers were dying at birth, babies were dying at birth, and yeah, it was sad, but then they didn't have a high rate of disease. Now, when the bubonic plague came in, it decimated those that were weak, the children, the elderly, and the immunocompromised. But now we have something to stop the initial death process. So when you have a baby that is weak in a society full of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, they have to find a way to acclimate to the environment or they would die from a preventable disease. And that's the whole point of the vaccines. Okay, so you can have America be a high rate of infant mortality, but a very strong nation with very little cancer disease, or you have America that is a low infant mortality rate with a high rate of disease and a bunch of weak ass people. And that's what America is. And you go into Africa and they're strong. I mean, you look at the African people from Africa, they're the ones that are kicking everybody's ass and they're running. You know why? Because they have a high infant mortality rate, because when Mother Nature deems you to be weak, she recycles you back into earth until you start over again. That's the whole point of nature. So for every cure for death, there is a disease following behind. And then what happens is it's like, you know, the cats have 9 lives and everything. Well, you run out of lives. Every single time you go get a cure, you run out of a life. And I don't know how many lives people are actually at, you know, get dubbed, but I mean, it depends on how many minerals you have. Okay, it depends on how many nutrients, how much insurance you have in your body. But you have a lower rate of infant mortality in the West because you have modern medicine that goes in and fixes your issues. So every single time you put a cure, whether it's the allopathic or holistic cure in your body from a disease, you have taken yourself down a notch. You have taken away segments of your life. You have given up years of your life for every single cure, okay, out there. Because a cure for death is another nail in your coffin. Because at some point you're going to be utilizing all of your money, your minerals that you can't offer to the gods. I mean, that's where all these things with the gods, sacrificing to the gods. People go, oh yeah, we got to sacrifice a human to the gods to give us, you know, a longer planting season or something. But that's essentially what modern medicine is you're basically sacrificing parts of yourself to the gods. That's exactly what the holistic industry is. You are sacrificing parts of yourself to the gods to cure death. Instead of actually reversing death with the right chemistry and dealing with the pain, when you are dealing with shortcuts, you are essentially making deals with the devil. And that's what the immunotherapy, that's what all the therapies are, basically deals with the devil, so to speak, to go biblical. Okay, and so there was that article on Irish Times about how the Amish were the key to finding the genetics, the genes that caused SIDS. So there's a specific gene that caused SIDS that they found to go and manipulate and reverse. But whenever you go and do gene editing, guess what? It's a chain reaction of events that you can't possibly anticipate because there's so many different biochemistries that you don't know what you're affecting and how it's going to then express itself. When you're messing with DNA, the RNA also get affected, and then the body expresses itself based upon the DNA being messed with. DNA and RNA, I mean, ghosts are basically biochemistry missing the RNA and DNA. So when a person is getting these life-saving cures and operations, it's because modern medicine figured out how to get down to the cellular level and edit the genes, but they haven't studied it long enough to see the long-term effects. However, you're seeing it in the population. Autism, you're seeing all these new diseases that are out there, okay? And so it makes you wonder, hold on a second. Yes, we cured you from dying, but yeah, you're going to have a disease. That's basically Mother Nature saying, you know what? Somebody basically bought you some time. No, you're not going to be 100% because you weren't supposed to live to begin with. If you have to go get a cure If you have to, if you get exposed to a virus and you don't die, but you live, whether it's through a vaccine or through in the environment, and you live, but you haven't fixed your weaknesses, you're going to be then knocked down another level, and you're going to be handicapped in some way. And that is our society, is we have found ways to cure death, but not everybody has enough minerals or enough insurance in their body to be able to keep making these trades with Mother Nature. All right, I'm not going to die today because of all your medicines and all of your different things. However, Mother Nature is going to keep taking pieces of you until there's nothing left. And that is the death process. Okay? And so when I looked at those stats on the I think it's the World Health Organization about infant mortality rate, people are like, oh my God, they're trying to kill us. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to go to Africa and where there's no modern medicine, and if you have a baby or if you just get a disease, there's no modern medicine to help you out. See, we have these anti-vaxxers that are willing to go to the hospital to get their kids taken care of because they have some kind of crazy disease. So imagine you go into Africa in the middle of the sub-Saharan desert and there's no modern medicine, no anything. You're now left with Mother Nature being the judge, jury, and executioner like she should be. And then guess what? The weak don't survive. And that's why there is a high infant mortality rate in the sub-Saharan desert, Africa, because the weak do not survive and only the strong survive. And then you get these strong athletes from Africa that are kicking everybody's ass in America and the West because they don't have a weak population curing death. Okay? When you're aging, you basically are making deals with the devil until there's nothing left. Like, seriously, the aging process. That's why people look like crypt keepers when they're aging, because they keep making deals with their maker until there's nothing left. But then you see, it almost is like when you see somebody actually in hospice, they look like someone that came out of a concentration camp because their body is just so racked with malnutrition. They have lost collagen, they have lost melanin, they have lost so many things because they haven't fixed the weaknesses, and they keep making deals with the devil. And they're coming from love, 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 and hate, 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 and all these different activists. And then they infect each other, and then it becomes then like a cancer because we have an imbalanced society that was able to cure death at the get-go. And if you have enough minerals in your body and you survive the chemotherapy and the cannabis, you've bought yourself another day, but you don't know how many more lives you have. Are you going to survive the next therapy? Are you going to survive the next disease? And that's exactly what goes on. And I have people that are in my age who are getting cancer, who don't have enough minerals in their body, and they're rolling the dice with the chemotherapy and the cannabis and all the different therapies, and they are losing. Some win and some lose. But why play that game? Why roll the dice? So this thing with the Amish who don't get vaccinated, but there's a high mortality or high infant mortality rate, which means a low disease rate. Oh, you don't see autism, you don't see all the Down syndrome in the Amish. Yeah, because they have a high SIDS rate. When you have a high SIDS rate, yeah, you're not going to have any childhood diseases because there's no freaking children that are alive that are disabled. But as soon as you vaccinate them and you give them a chance at life, yeah, you're risking cancer, disease, and chronic illness, but at least they're alive. At least they're alive. But the anti-vaxxers and the ones that have major diseases don't know this. And they blame the diseases on modern medicine when it actually saved their damn life, and it saved their kids' life, it saved their own life, it saved their family's life. So I'm telling you, some of these families, if you put that genetic line in somewhere like Africa where there's no modern medicine, there wouldn't be that genetic line. It wouldn't exist. But the fact that people exist in America is for the fact of vaccines and biotech. You put people here in America with no modern medicine in Africa, you wouldn't have America. Okay. And so for some reason, people who are dying get very creative. Very creative. And this is where modern medicine came from, because it came off the end of the bubonic plague. Okay? They don't want people dying from some preventable disease like a plague. So then they go, or smallpox. And so they figure out, why did this person survive? And they go and study. And I mean, I don't even know how. We had some pretty smart ass people back in Europe. Okay? And yeah, evolution has created very, very smart people, even the mutations, because people who are blonde hair and blue eyed is a type of a positive, or of a balance or an imbalance based upon the environment. But it also, when your body goes through different changes based upon adaptation, it makes you then think differently. That's why the whole J juice is so amazing, because it makes you think differently when you change your biochemistry. So when a human wants to survive, they get creative and they start inventing things. They start going in and examining things, and they figure out correlation, causation. No, correlation does not mean causation. And then they do process of elimination. They do hypothesis testing. I mean, that's what science is the study of whatever. And then they do human experimentation, animal experimentation, plant experimentation, to see if their theories are actually true. And so you can be a Google scientist with your own body, utilizing the right protocols, the right chemistry, so you don't kill yourself. And we have enough information out there to let you know that cabbage, water, and salt and fermentation is not going to kill you. And now you have to see how that chemistry affects your biochemistry. Okay? So when you're in America and you have a low infant mortality rate as compared to Africa, no, there are kids that die. There are kids that are going to die. SIDS, maybe they got vaccinated and they couldn't handle it. Who knows? But not because the vaccine killed them. They were just weak to begin with, and they can't handle their fucking environment. Okay? So no matter what, a child is going to die, because in that first year, we'll let you know. And modern medicine doesn't want to risk a kid just dying. So if they can find a way to transition them with a lesser of a strength of a virus or bacteria, and let them transition into the new environment, yeah, it's going to maim them, because they're already weak. Okay? But at least you get the disease rather than death. And now we have enough insurance, right, which is life, even though we're all like half like maimed and either obese or have some kind of chronic condition or taking medication. Now we have a chance to go and harness the elements to figure out how to prolong life, potentially indefinitely. For every cure you apply to your body, that's another nail in your coffin. And I'm telling you, even when you utilize your own chemistry to manage your cancer, disease, and chronic illness, you're essentially cannibalizing yourself. Okay? So even though you don't take any holistic remedies, you don't take any allopathic remedies, but you're playing with your hormones, pressing things here, pressing things there, or getting acupuncture, doing all these things where people are all about love, love, love. You're bringing to surface death hormones, and then it contributes to the death process. Okay? And so yeah, so it's everybody's choice, but at least now you know. And so that's what, yesterday when I saw that person's profile, when I saw that person's, well, not profile, but I saw that person's post, I'm just like, we're like, oh yeah, the Amish, they don't get heart disease, they don't get autism, they don't get this. And I'm like, well, how the hell do you die in the Amish community? You just spontaneously combust, you just disappear. I'm like, what are people thinking when what natural causes are? Natural causes are heart disease, strokes, heart attacks, anything that the body is not getting enough of. The body goes into major triage, and then if you don't have enough minerals to sustain you another day, that's dying of natural causes. That's what natural causes are. When there's infanticide, homicide, suicide, or a car accident, that would be under investigation, the cause of death. That's why we have the coroner and the detectives and autopsies. So they actually know what the cause of death is, okay? So then I'm thinking like, okay, if the Amish are then getting a lot of SIDS, which is Mother Nature saying, okay, no weak children in the Amish community, and then modern medicine wants to come in and cure the SIDS or isolate the gene that contributes to SIDS, then now you're going to see kids that have SIDS or that have the SIDS gene will now have some kind of crazy disease, but it's better than dying. So if you get identified with, so if your kid has a gene that has the SIDS gene, and then they go do some kind of gene editing, you're going to have to expect some kind of anomalous thing will happen to your child. Every single gene that they isolate with a name to it, whether it's the MTHFR gene or the BRCA gene or any gene that they have a name for because it's a epigenetic, you know there's going to be some kind of disability or some kind of major smarts, because we have kids that are like graduating from electrical engineering school at 9 years old. But you know, from that, they're going to have a shortened lifespan unless somebody comes in and the kid will still have the smarts, but then prolong that kid's life. Because when you are that smart and that aware at 9 years old, where you can actually sit and do complex computations, that is an imbalance in the hormones that, yes, the world's going to get some kind of benefit from, but that child is going to be used and then, I won't say abused, but you never know. And then they will pass away early. But they would have contributed to humanity. They might get the Nobel Peace Prize, who knows, if they do something really amazing at 9 years old. But that's kind of the state of our world. We're kind of turning into the X-Men with the fact, since we have weak bodies with so many epigenetics with the names to it, and then we're going in trying to reverse these things and doing CRISPR stuff. Yeah, we're going to have Marvel, we're going to have X-Men, oh, hell, you name it. So if you see anything weird out there, you think like, oh, aliens. No, it's just, you know, we're curing death on people who are already weak. And even though you're going to have an amazing shortened life, but it's like at some point the gap is going to close at some point. Okay? And so the whole J juice is now widening the gap, and you can still have all of your talents. You're not going to lose your talents on the J juice. If anything, it's going to refine your talents. It's going to make you even that much more aware, more strategic, and have different revelations. And you're going to have more of a 3D type of way of seeing things versus a 2-dimensional way. And so that's something, you know, that now, with all of our advancements in technology, now more than ever, those of you who have access to this information needs to really take a look at it, because you're not getting any younger. For those of you that are not doing the JJs, your body is going to continuously break down, and the aging process, the degradation process is not pretty, no matter how much love and hearts you put out there. Because I know some of you who are aging, who are all about the love, love, love. No matter how much love you put out there in the world, it's not going to save you from being recycled back into the earth to start over again until you get it right. Because humans can have many lives, or they can have one continuous life. And the many lives are recycling the death and the life loop. Okay? And so, you know, I know when some of you who are elderly, who are aging, who are all about the love, 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 and you can't seem to get out of that hormone, it might be worth it to you to check out my information. Throwing love at hearts at me. Okay, and I'm going to look up the one that put the heart there right now. I watch your page. I know how much love, love, love you put out there, but is that going to save your life? When you are aging in the system, is all that love really going to help your friends when they're all basically degrading from cancer, disease, and chronic illness? And since you've been exposed to my information, this is to Papa Charlie, you've been exposed to my information, wouldn't it be incumbent upon you to pass this information along to help your friends, to help yourself? Not even your friends. What about yourself? Why don't you save yourself? You don't have to be, saving somebody is not throwing in and suffocating them with love. It's showing them how to live and stay living, and not only surviving, but actually fucking living. No amount of love or hate is going to save the world. I'm going to tell you that right now. No amount of love or hate is going to save your friends or save your family or save you. So yes, I'm going to give this to, because I've been wanting to say this. So Papa Charlie, I watch your page. I know how much love you put out there, but it's not going to save your friends. It's not going to save you. And if you are systematically degrading in the system, aging and degrading, that shows that you are applying the wrong chemistries to your body, playing with the hormones. They're going to cause more of the death process. And I think, Papa Charlie, you're worth more than that. I think you're worth more than that. And so I see you come onto my Facebook a lot and onto my transmissions. And I'm hoping that maybe you might actually do the protocol, that you might get where I'm coming from when it comes to this whole extremes of people who are just suffocating each other with love and hate. That maybe you might change something in your life. Maybe. I'm hoping. I take a stand. I don't really expect people who may be too far gone to understand this, but I want to let you know that I'm aware of who my audience is. And some I will take a stand because I know they do want to live, but they probably don't want to feel the pain, because that's part of the healing process, is you're going to have to feel pain. And if you don't want to feel pain, then don't think that then you're, then are you really pro-life? Because pain is life. Life is healing. Pain is healing. Okay? So yeah, so I want you guys to understand that so when you cure death, so to speak, when you have a cure for imminent death, expect to be maimed. Look at the people who've done the chemotherapy and the cannabis. They're not at all where they were, or even prior to where they were. They're even less than as far as the degradation in their body. Every single time you smoke pot, every single time you take a pill, powder supplement detox, every single time you get a therapy, no matter what it is, every single time you create some kind of trauma to your body, you're taking yourself down a notch, another nail in the coffin, another nail in the coffin, another nail in the coffin. So yeah. So it's not about curing death. It's about reversing the death process to, instead of being on a death trajectory, be on a life trajectory. And that means that maybe all the love, and hate that you all have in your world may need to be kind of like re-examined, because no amount of love or hate is going to save you or save your friends and family. No amount. It's teaching your friends how to harness the elements and understand that you have to go through pain to actually live, not anesthetize yourself on a continuous basis until there's nothing left. Because I'm telling you, the death process is not pretty. It is not pretty. All right, I'm going to go do my thing, but you guys have an amazing day. I'm going to, do whatever I do. But all these cures for imminent death is what is behind all the new diseases. And so Mother Nature had it right when she basically did not allow the weak babies in Africa to live. So that's why Africa is so strong. That's why they turn out amazing athletes in the Olympics. That's why you can't beat Africa when it comes to longevity running, because they have strong ass people, because they have a high infant mortality rate. You know who's dying? The weak. Yeah, the love energy is basically it's a survival. When you bond through love, bond through trauma, bond through hate, it's a survival when you're not super self-sufficient. When you are super self-sufficient, like super self-sufficient, where you don't need anybody or anything, you're not coming from love or hate. You're just existing, but you're existing through achieving your goals and empowering others but not from love or hate, from the fact that you want life to bloom around you. It's when there's certain things that you can't do for whatever reason, then the love and hate is there to bond you. So that way you can then meet the goals. And sometimes you do need people. Like I need Kevin and Bridget and Lillian and my husband, and they need me in some way. And so there we are bonded through love in that way, but it's not overpowering where it's taking over. But that's a type of a balanced love based upon mutual goals and respect. We are trying to achieve something and we need each other. So that love energy is there. Okay, so why it is that you see a high rate of polio in India versus a high infant mortality rate is because these people are having their lives saved. Okay, because they could die from these preventable diseases. And so we have to understand that there is a reason for it all. The reason why we have 7 billion people on this planet is because we have modern medicine, vaccines, and biotech. If we allowed Mother Nature to actually take out the weak, none of you on my Facebook would be alive, because every single cancer, disease, and chronic illness you have would have been your death, would have been your ticket to back to being recycled. It would have been, Mother Nature would have been like, nope, sorry, you don't qualify to live on this earth. You are too weak. So Melissa Werner, all of you guys that are anti-vax still out there, realize you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for modern medicine, vaccines, and biotech. Because you put yourself in the sub-Saharan Africa, you wouldn't survive out there with no modern medicine. So high infant mortality rate, low rate of childhood disease. Low infant mortality rate, high rate of childhood disease. High mortality rate, low rate of childhood disease. Yeah. Low infant mortality rate, high rate of childhood disease. High mortality rate, low rate of childhood disease. So the more death that happens, the less disease. Okay? Just black and white. All right. You guys, I take a stand for you. And now we have to understand why these things exist. Now we have to understand that J Juice now puts a whole new spin on everything. And now you have a chance. And you have this information. You've been exposed to it. Why you don't do it yourself and talk about it to your friends and family, I'll never know, especially if you've been watching me for a while. But some of you are very stubborn. And you think that your activism is going to save the world as you are degrading in the system, hopping on and off the protocol as if it was some kind of cure. It's not a cure. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.